Here we are, turning the corner on our November retreat. Crisp autumn day. It's nice to be in front of the fire. Although we did have a good bonfire set last night. Although there was some, it's getting a little frosty there towards the end, but still very enjoyable. Will smell like bonfire for some time. I always make a joke. You wake up in the middle of the night, you're like, it smells like a forest fire. Yeah. Oh, it's my shirt. That's great. Yeah. So we all come to retreat for clarity. Yeah. We come here to open up, and somewhere along the way, without forcing anything, we begin to kind of suspend our disbelief a little. We loosen the grip on the story, on who we think we are, and we just let ourselves open to the truth that's always been right here. And in that small opening, something very simple becomes visible. The spaciousness of our life, the wonder, the ease that's been underneath everything from the beginning. When we don't force it, when we just show up, when the noise quiets down, we actually become a little more nimble, a little more playful, a little more responsive. We don't have to strain anything, and there's nothing to manage. Yeah? We can actually return to our natural domain. And now as we turn the corner on this last day of retreat, it's helpful to ask ourselves, the master within, for a little bit of guidance. What do we do next? How do we step out into the world without immediately getting swept back in the old currents of habit energy? For that, we can ask advice of the old master Hō-Osho of Kōyō, and he appears to us in case 44 of the Shōyōroku, Kōyō's Garuda bird. And the case goes like this. Attention. A monk said to Hō-Osho of Kōyō, a dragon king leaves the ocean, and heaven and earth are calm. Meet him face to face, and then what? The master replied, the Garuda attains the universe. At such a time, who would dare stick his head out? The monk countered, when the head sticks out, then what? Kōyō answered, it's like a falcon seizing a dove. If you don't understand, check in front of the balcony and know the truth. The monk said, well then, I clasp my hands on my chest and retreat 3 steps. Kōyō responded, blind turtle pinned under Sumeru, Mount Sumeru. Don't get hit on the forehead and scarred again. I always tell you, when we wake up, we think we're going to wake up to lollipops and rainbows. Sometimes we do wake up that way. But here we have Garudas and dragons. Even more wonderful, yeah? In the old myths, the dragon is the ruler of the oceans. He's invincible in its natural element. But the dragon does have a single predator. Yeah? And it's the Garuda. You don't hear about them very often. The dragons don't want you to know. Yeah? When the Garuda spreads its wings, the waters part. The dragon, the great sovereign of the depth, is suddenly exposed. Even the dragon is vulnerable when it leaves its domain. When we sit deeply for a few days, something in us recalls, remembers our own ocean. Yeah. The calm, steady depth of our true nature, of our original mind. Nothing special, nothing dramatic, just a simple fact of being here. But the moment we step out of this container, the moment we leave our natural element, something else appears. The texts say the Garuda is the dragon's only known predator. It doesn't stalk the dragon in the ocean, however. It only swoops in when the dragon raises its head into the air, leaving its true home. And all of a sudden, the mythology begins to become perfectly clear. This isn't some rarefied place. This is a place that we've all experienced. It's not mythology, it's our life. The Garuda is that instantaneous kind of surge of karmic consciousness that seizes us the moment we drift from direct experience into the world of our thought forms. Leave your ocean, and you're already in the realm where Garuda knows exactly how to find you. Master Ho-Osho answers the monk's question with this: the Garuda attains the universe. At such a time, who would dare stick his head up? When the Garuda fills the sky, when karmic momentum is awake and moving, there's no room for pretending. No room for posturing spiritual insight. No room even for the slightest trace of self-absorption. You stick your head out, you introduce a single thread of conceptual thought or a weaving of karmic consciousness, and it's seized. We're really off to the races. It's not because you did something wrong, of course, or that because you're being punished in some way. It's just simply how karmic consciousness functions. It's immediate and inevitable when you step out into that realm. The monk presses on and asks, when the head sticks out, then what? He's earnest, but perhaps he's thinking in the wrong direction. Maybe he thinks he can operate from within the old habits and find safety that way. We can think this thing through. We can think this thing through, right? We're so close. We're so close. If we just had that one last piece of information, that one last thought, then certainly we would figure this out. I'll be okay when I can figure that out. Don't give up on the mind road. Yeah, I wonder. Ho-Osho replies, when we do that, it's like a falcon seizing a dove. Instant, right? There's no deliberation. This fight is over before it begins. The moment the dove's head appears outside cover, the falcon's already there, I promise. And that's the precision of karmic momentum when we leave original mind. It's the same with us, of course. The moment we leave presence, wonder, inclusivity, and wander into the thicket of thought, judgments, the falcon's already moving. Old patterns, old stories, old reactivity. They don't slowly build. They seize us in one single motion. We referred to it in another time during retreat as this train of thought. Yeah? Someone says something and you hear the conductor, all aboard? Yeah, that's it. We're off. And then the story begins playing. Yeah? And you know the soundtrack well. You can sing it, recite it. It gets more effusive every time. We don't have to write it. Yeah? Ho-Osho then says, if you want to see what the end of that is, if you don't understand, just check in front of the balcony and know the truth. The balcony is kind of this convergence, right? This place of encounter between those two worlds. The edge where you can't hide from your own functioning. Certainly not a place of punishment. It's a place where things reveal themselves in their exact form. But you also see all the remnants, all the chaos, all the half-told stories and discarded facts that you use to comprise yourself sitting in disarray all over the ground from the last battles that you had. Never quite ends well. But we keep charging out there. Maybe this new suit of armor will work. But we see all the casualties of battle that are still within us wounded. Look there, he says. See what happens the moment you step away from your ocean. Then you'll know the truth. This point, the monk, rather, not punk, tries to demonstrate something. Maybe he is a punk. He says, well then, I clasp my hands on my chest and retreat 3 steps. Sound familiar? You may. That's how you retreat from the Doksan room, right? So he's saying, Yeah, this encounter, I've learned my lesson. Yeah. It's a gesture in a way of humility, a symbolic withdrawal, but it's still conceptual, right? He still is trying to figure it out, to reason it through. It's not about advance and it's not about retreat. You're already standing there. Notice how tenuous it is, how this clinging karmic mind just won't let it go. I know it's just one more, I just got to figure out one more thing and then that'll be it. If I get the right dietary supplement, if I get the right, right exercise regimen, if I try those GLP-1 things, that tends to work really well, then everything will be okay. Kōyō cuts it off in an instant. He says, blind turtle, pinned under Mount Sumeru, don't get hit on the forehead and scarred again. Don't join the ranks. All these discarded beings from the last encounters. It's not reprimanding them. Believe it or not, this is very compassion. It's compassion in the only form that can help them in that moment. A sharp reminder, you've already been crushed by these patterns. You've already tried to live in them. You don't fit very well. You have bruises and blisters and scars from trying to jam yourself into that. You've walked many, many miles in those shoes. And you've got all of the foot ailments to prove it. Don't walk back into them thinking this time it'll be different. You already know what happens when the dragon leaves the ocean. You already know that the Garuda comes for you. You already know that the Falcon seizes the dove. And many of you already have felt the full weight of Sumeru when you fall back into that same groove. The intractable sense of not being able to break free, being pinned under that mountain. This entire koan is really spoken with love. It's less of a warning than a finger pointing. And it's not a master that's outside. Osho lives within. He's constantly reminding you. That's not going to go well. But you say, hey, hold my beer. Tread in there one more time. You've tasted the ocean this week, right? Don't abandon your natural domain. Don't drift from the world of thought forms as you walk out of this retreat. Don't surrender your life to the karmic momentum the moment you re-enter the world. Yeah. All of you have felt the nimbleness and responsiveness that come when we stop arguing with reality. I want to be careful here because, allegory can only go so far. It's not that we're avoiding our karmic momentum. It's more that we learn to work skillfully with it. A bullfighter gets in a ring, and I guess these examples, I'm the last generation who can give these, right? I don't think there's a place in the world this is still going on. But you don't see the bullfighter get out in the ring and start going, hey, right? Come get me. It's not what's done. The bullfighter nimbly works with the bull, with his red drape or cloth, and turns the bull freely at will. It takes a lot of skill. Each of you has that same bull within, the same karmic momentum. You don't avoid it, and you also don't try running head into it. That's going to be pretty gory. You learn to work with it. That's why I tell you, look very carefully at yourself. Look very carefully at your habit energy. Understand all of the different facets of yourself. There's many of those facets that are beautiful and congruent with your idea of who you think you are. Those you know very well. I'm very smart. Yeah. I can run, I can jump. Yeah. I can out-argue my spouse. Don't try that. I was just joking about that. Yeah. The ones that you don't understand well are the ones you're trying to push away. Those are more important. You've got to make friends with the inner scoundrel. You got to listen to his tales, her tales. You got to meet the one who's aloof, the one who avoids conflict, the one who was wounded as a child. Knowing all of them makes you able more deftly to work with your karmic consciousness and to turn it into something that points a way out of suffering, not just for yourself, because that self falls away when you do that. You begin to recognize that you inherit the whole universe's vast resources when you can work skillfully in this way. That's the good news. But you also inherit the world's suffering. Say, oh, no. Because you have everything it takes to meet all that suffering with compassion and transform it. There's no need to keep repeating those steps of sticking your head out of the water when you know what's going to happen. There's no need to perform some spiritual contrition, some type of perfunctory humility. Just learn how to navigate your ocean. Stay with your direct experience. Stay in the kingdom, the domain that's been yours all along. Then the Garuda has nothing to seize. Karmic consciousness has nothing to feed on. You walk out of this retreat not as someone who's holding on to some special, rarefied state, but as someone who remembers where they live. And the realm of the Garuda winds up being included because you've learned to work skillfully with that as well. Even that's not outside. The dragon doesn't fear the sky because the sky is dangerous. It begins to recognize how to work skillfully within the domain that it has to master the sky as well. That's how you remain at home in your own life. Everything else then will take care of itself, I promise. There's an appreciatory verse for this. The imperial order descends, the general order disperses. Within the fortress, the emperor. Outside the walls, the general. Thunder doesn't wait for the astonished bugs to crawl out. You'll never know the wind has stopped flowing or stopped the flowing clouds. The loom's lower warp is continuous, and the golden needle and jeweled thread are naturally there. Plain and vast before sealing. Originally, there's no ideograph or wormhole. Even more cryptic, yeah? The imperial order descends, the general order disperses. There's a difference between what moves from the center and what moves from the edges. The imperial order comes from stillness. The general's order comes from strategy and reaction. That's the split that happens when we don't work within our original domain, when we don't work from within our true nature. The original mind stays where it is, and karmic mind spreads outward. This week, you've learned, you've been jumped into the waters. You've seen your own birthright and inheritance. So as you leave, stop looking for the general. Stay settled in the imperial order of simple presence. Don't chase after strategy or reaction. The strategy or reaction is organic when we're wholly present and responding to what's here. Learn the vastness of your ocean. If you feel an old pattern surge, look at it carefully. Don't try to block it out. Engage with it directly, not on the terms of your reactive self, but on the terms of your skillful self, the one who's present and who's able to see everything from start to finish in one glance. Drop back into the body, into your next breath, into this direct sensation. And remember where you live. We always see everything as in here and out there. That's not it. There's a spaciousness that's unbroken, that's always present. There is nowhere you can't go. Unless, of course, you fall into the kind of death throes of the karmic self that's always telling you you'll only be okay when. Stay in connection with your practice. And your practice is we try to separate it and say, my practice is my practice. I always tell folks, when we show up in the morning for meditation, we don't show up for ourselves. We show up to encourage everyone to come and practice, because it's very encouraging when you see everybody show up. But if you don't show up, nobody does. We only have one English quote here in the Zendo. It's from JFK. It says, we do these things not because they're easy, but because they're hard. We push up against the things that we find challenging, and we don't lay down and rest when we find that sort of resistance. We actually, by encountering the resistance directly, notice that it subsides. JFK made one other quote that's particularly compelling as well. I ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. When you're fully at one with the country, when you've done all that can be done, you'll notice there's no more problem associated with something you call you. That you drops away.